Ladies and gentlemen, this is Brussels. I am Bert Stephani, and this is the new Fuji X100s. The original FujiFilm X100 was highly acclaimed, but it didn't come without its faults. The AF was pretty slow and sometimes inaccurate. The camera in total was rather slow, although it was technologically pretty advanced, and it changed a number of things. But now with the X100s, everything that was wrong with the camera seems to be solved, and they kept everything that was good about the camera. Great body, it looks good, feels good, very tactile response. The hybrid viewfinder, everything is still there. It basically looks the same except for the S, but it has become quite a different camera, as I've already discovered. So we got pretty much everything for a nice test shoot of the Fuji X100, except for subjects. And therefore I have Saartje and Sophie. They both run biensucré.com, which is a happy lifestyle blog, and they blog about clothing, fun, food, DIY stuff, all really nice things. And they could use some nice lifestyle kind of pictures of themselves in this beautiful city. So there we are, let's go. You ready? And you can leave your head on. So try to keep my pace. You ready? Go. Great, not too fast, not too fast. Super. So the first thing that strikes me when I see this camera is that it's really small and compact, and that's really useful in situations like this where you want to move with your models, use only available light, so you're much more flexible in what you do. Also the LCD screen is quite good, and I use it more and more. I used to be like you have to use the viewfinder on a camera to be a real photographer, but sometimes definitely with a bit of a lower angle the screen can be very handy. And I was trying to shoot a bit into the sun behind me to get some flare in the images, and then you need a lower perspective, and you cannot take a lower perspective and then still walk backwards if you look through the viewfinder. So the screen is actually pretty good and pretty visible even in the sunlight, so it's great to work in a very organic and fast, improvised way. It's really good when you look up a bit. That's great. And move a tiny bit that way. Yeah, that's perfect. Turn your head a bit more towards me. That's great. All right, stay like that, Sophie. We're gonna put you in too. Step one little step that way. Yeah. Step into my studio. So this is really my favorite light. Whenever you can find like a little place where the overhead light is blocked, you get instant, soft, nice light with a bit of direction. It's great for portraits. But then one of the shortcomings of this camera is that it has a 35mm equivalent lens, so it's a 23 on a crop camera. But you can't really go head and shoulders with it without distorting the face or the body a bit. So, and to me, it is a great camera. It's a fantastic camera, and they made huge improvements. But it's still a bit of a limiting factor to be an all-round camera. Maybe it's because I'm more used to like a 50mm equivalent lens. I don't really always kind of find my thing in the 35mm range. But for portraiture, you cannot go really tight without distorting, and that is, to me, the limitation. Maybe Fuji should bring out a couple of these cameras with different lenses. That would be really nice. But still, you can work around it and shoot a bit wider and still get great shots, but you're never going to use it in the studio for anything because you'll need a huge background to work with. But so to me, that kind of still is a bit of a limitation, one that is very clear because that's what they say, it's a fixed lens. I'm pretty much a manual shooter all the time to have complete control, but sometimes you just are not fast enough or the conditions are changing all the time. And what I really like about this camera is that the automatic functions, the automatic exposure works pretty well. So I've been shooting this setting here in aperture priority and just play around a bit with the exposure compensation. And the thing is that really good is that it's a tactile feel, so you really know when you change something and by how much you change it. And so that works really well for these are basically real moments, and it works really well. The other thing Fuji has done compared to the old X100 is they made this dial a bit stiffer, and that's quite important because the other one, the old one, you changed accidentally all the time. But this one, I haven't changed it accidentally yet. So it has a very good feel, and that's one of the biggest advantages of this camera is the tactile feel. You don't have to watch what you're doing because you can feel it. Like you get a very positive tactile feedback every time you change your settings. And to me, that's a really big advantage when you're working fast and in uncontrolled circumstances. This is an off-camera TTL cord because I really want to have some detail in the very bright ceiling, but then they turn into silhouettes. So I'm going to use a little flash, slightly off-camera. And the fun thing is that the Canon off-camera flash cords, they work perfectly with the Fujis. So at least with my Fujis, let's see if it works with the X100. And let's see what we can get if we use the small X20 flash. See if we have enough power to use that here. Okay, zijn we klaar? Go! The really nice thing, even out of this very small EF X20 flash, I can get a lot of power because this camera has a leaf shutter. I can use pretty much any shutter speed that I want. So I was shooting back then at 1/500 and even 1,000th of a second. At ISO 200 I can still have that shallow depth of field of shooting on f2.8 or f2. And because of that leaf shutter I can get away and I can still use the small flash to fill it in. So I got detail in the background and beautiful ceiling, and at the same time they are perfectly lit. So that works really very well. Put the flash into manual, and when I was shooting between 1/16th of the power to 1/4, 1/4 power, so that's very useful, and it opens up a lot of possibilities for off-camera flash use. Filter on. Fuji really delivered with the X100s. It has become a very mature camera system, very reliable, great image quality, easy to use, great autofocus. I promised myself not to like it too much because I don't really need it in my job, but I think I will eventually get one because it is the perfect camera to put in your pocket, to travel around, to walk the streets, and so much more. So absolutely kudos to FujiFilm for listening to the user base and basically fixing everything that was wrong with the original X100.